of applause for Lizzy. Wow. What were you thinking? Now, Lizzy, I know you've only been here a couple of weeks, but there is a certain way that we like to do things. We have a certain standard. And that, frankly, is very disappointing. I suggest you go away and you have a little rethink. Now, I could have started this by telling you about my new job. I could have told you about my new boss and her eyebrow. I could have told you about how for every day for the next 2 years, I would go and I would write in a basement in Somerset House, in my story cellar, with my wicked witch overlooking me. But if I've learned anything from writing, it's that introductions are for essays. And the thing that you were going to say first should probably be dumped in favour of the thing that you were going to say second. So my first secret from my story cellar is not to ease your audience in, but it's to dump them in. I had to teach a yoga class clucking like a chicken. And despite my pleas to the universe for the ground to open up and swallow me, it didn't, so I was stuck there. And I walked among the rows of mats, clucking and squawking and scraping, in between telling people to press back into downward facing dog. And my students were laughing so hard that they were falling onto their knees. And I really didn't think this could get any worse until the trainer who had made me do this came over and she whispered in my ear, "Don't forget to flap your wings." And I've taught many yoga classes since that class, but it remains the most memorable. I will never forget it, and I'm sure the people that were in it will never forget that yoga class. And the point is that some of us love numbers. Some of us want a quote that they can scribble down, that they can go and make into a tweetable graphic the next day. Some people will remember you simply because you made them laugh. And no one will forget you, or no one will forget the girl who got on stage and made like a chicken. So, secret from my storyteller number 2 is to give the audience something to hold on to. Whether it's a number, whether it's a fact. Some people love their facts, right? They won't believe you until you give them a fact. Whether it is a quote, or whether it is a joke or a stupid animal noise, give your audience something to remember you by. Okay. A couple of years ago, I was in Big Sur with my husband, and I say to this day that I left my heart in Big Sur. It was our honeymoon, and every day that we'd been in Big Sur, we had been hiking, which is basically just walking in Californian, by the way. And we walked this day, we left the car and we walked down, and we came into a redwood forest. And it was cool and it was dark, and the trees were enormous, as big as skyscrapers. It was so peaceful, there was no one else there with us. It was really absolutely beautiful. And we followed along a little stream, and we came up and eventually out onto a really dusty hillside, and we knew that there was going to be a couple of peaks that we were going to have to ascend. And this took us ages. And we got to the top of one peak, and then behind it was an even bigger one. And eventually we got to the top, and we saw in front of us the ocean was covered with clouds. And it was like that scene that you see when you're looking out of an aeroplane window, except that we were on solid ground, yet also somehow we were floating. It was really magical. So my secret from the story seller number 3 is that you don't have to turn every story into a teaching. Not every story has to have a message, but it is enough sometimes to lead your audience on a journey through an enchanted forest, as long as there is a beautiful ending. Thank you very much.
Gorgeous. You totally know that is etched in my brain, and about 70 other people as well. So I'd like to pass over to Claire.
Thank you.
Question before I start the other stuff. Why did you have to clap like a chicken?
Because I did it in the members, the last members training that we did.
Okay.
And I was thinking about it today, and I was like, I know that people are going to laugh, and I know it's going to make an impact if I clap like a chicken. You mean in the training?
No, but yeah, I mean, like,
in the
I mean, I love the story, but I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
why was she doing that in yoga? I just need to know.
Because they try and get you out of yourself. They try and shake you up so much
Okay.
that you're not in your head. That's the thing.
So that was just all for me, because I bet you were thinking,
Yeah.
but why? But why? I love you storytelling, and I remember when I was here last time the story about your grandfather. I remember it so clearly because you're so good at it. But I want you to move when you're telling your story. I felt like I wanted you at this side of the stage, starting, doing your story, then moving into you, then moving out of you, then back into you, so that you're changing where you're standing, so that we really kind of set the story, so to speak. But the way you capture people with the story is fantastic. This is an awkward stage to feel comfortable moving on, I have to say. So even like I'm much more still because most of my work's television, so I'm more used to that. And it is hard this stage, it is. But just to place yourself. And the final story you did, you had kind of run out. There was limited time. You could have definitely done more descriptions and gone into it. But that's cool. I mean, I left hungry for more. I mean, I came straight on stage going, but I need to know, what did this? And that's incredible, because if you can leave people hanging, they're going to want more from you, whether it's at that event or whether they go to your social media and they go to follow you. So sometimes not giving everything is actually of value to you. So I loved it. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Who would have thought I get to see you clap like a chicken?
I know.
And here's the thing about that was a really big thing for you, because I work with you and I've seen you also through the journey, and I know, you know, how in the greatest way how seriously you take yourself. So it's quite nice to see you play a bit. But what I'm so blown away by is how far you've come with your storytelling. It's so mesmerizing, and you so draw us in. Very similar to Claire, I want to see you start to move with your stories. You don't necessarily have to step into different characters unless you want to, but as you move through and as you're looking over the scene, you know, just take us more into your body, because, oh my God, you are amazing at this. I actually think you underestimate how good a storyteller you are. I know you know you're good on words, but actually telling it, you are brilliant. I don't know if you know that. So I want to see more. This is brilliant. Give me a break.
I just want to reiterate, you have a gift, and that's the gift of storytelling. And not everybody, in fact, there's very, very few that can engage us in a story. So engage us with the movement. So you climbed a big peak, but it was kind of here, really? How big is big?
It's the microphone. I don't ever speak with the mic.
So here's the thing. Harriet was talking about getting to the event early, finding out what's going on. So always be prepared. So if that means you have to stand in the bedroom with a hairbrush, stand in the bedroom with a hairbrush. Give it a go, see what it's like. Remember that when you move, you have to move the mic with the head. Because if you leave it there, you've lost the voice. So it's like being a pop star. It's like being that 6-year-old pop star in the mirror, dancing along to...
Britney Spears.
Thank you. So it's being that 6-year-old pop star, and having it in front of you and having a little train with it. The other thing was awesome start, and you threw away beautifully printed Pony Express handout, and then your voice was really quiet, and her voice was really quiet. We didn't really get to hear what she had to say, and hit us from the start. You hit us with a chicken. So that first word, get it out there, wake us up, because suddenly we're all like, oh my God, where's this going? And hit us with a word. But very, very well done. And keep the gift up and make it bigger. Okay. Bigger. Much bigger.
Final round of applause for Lizzy. Awesome.